All right, so we're diving into the world of cybersecurity and factory automation. Well, no FA, it's all about efficiency, getting things done. But now there's this added layer, security.
Yeah.
And we've got some really great insights from a seasoned FA engineer. We're calling him Oka-san,
Eh,
straight from his presentation in Tokyo.
Sound like an expert.
He's like our sensei for cybersecurity for this deep dive. So the world of FA is changing. And safety now includes cybersecurity. I mean, think about Stuxnet right back in the day
Oh, yeah.
and the impact that had on critical infrastructure.
Huge impact.
Yeah. So how can FA engineers who are traditionally focused on, keeping those physical systems safe,
Right.
how can they navigate this whole cybersecurity landscape?
Well, it's interesting. Oka-san frames it all with this German word Sicherheit,
Okay.
which encompasses both traditional safety, what we think of, and then this digital security we're talking about today. It's like he's saying, hey, we've always been about risk management in FA. Now we just need to expand our thinking.
I love that. It's not a separate thing. It's like you said, an evolution of how we've always approached risk in FA.
Right.
And speaking of risk, Oka-san kind of paints this vivid picture with a timeline of cyber attacks.
Oh, yeah.
You got Stuxnet back in 2010, which really shook things up.
Definitely.
But it doesn't stop there. 2016, you've got viruses specifically targeting PLCs. And then 2018,
Oh, even worse.
TSMC, the global chip giant, they had to halt production because a contractor had an infected computer.
Wow.
And that wasn't even a direct attack on them, but it just crippled their operations.
Yeah, it highlights how interconnected everything is.
Everything, yeah.
And how vulnerable even the biggest players are.
So it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
I never would have thought that one affected computer could bring down a company like TSMC.
It's crazy, right?
But there it is. And then 2022, Toyota had their production disrupted because of an attack on a supplier.
It emphasizes that weakest link concept.
The weakest link, yeah.
Even if you're doing everything right, if your partners aren't, you're vulnerable.
It's getting serious. So were we just supposed to wait around for the next attack?
Definitely not. Oka-san dives into some practical steps that we can take, starting with the core principles of cybersecurity,
Okay.
the CIA triad.
Here we go. The classic CIA triad.
Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You might be thinking, okay, this is basic cybersecurity stuff, but here's where it gets interesting for FA.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me why it's so unique in the world of factory automation.
In IT, confidentiality is often the top priority.
Right.
But in operational technology, or OT, like what we deal with in FA, availability reigns supreme.
Availability. Okay.
Oka-san gives this great example. Imagine you're in a power plant,
Okay.
and someone says, hey, there's a potential security issue on this computer. Disconnect it from the network. In IT, that's standard procedure. But in a power plant,
Huge problem.
that could cause a shutdown.
Yeah, you can't just disconnect things in a power plant.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
In a factory, a sudden shutdown.
Oh, huge consequence.
Safety, production, everything comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
And a whole different way of thinking about security.
Totally different. It's not just about protecting the information.
Right.
It's about keeping those critical processes running.
Exactly.
So knowing that, how do we start applying this CIA triad in our FA world? Oka-san's presentation dives into some concrete examples.
Yeah, it does.
Let's hear them. I'm ready to put this into practice.
So when we talk about confidentiality, we're thinking about protecting those sensitive machine blueprints, that production data. You wouldn't want those designs falling into the wrong hands, especially with competitors getting more and more aggressive these days.
You're right. Those blueprints are like gold.
They are.
And integrity. I can already see how crucial that is, in an environment where even the slightest deviation can mess things up.
Absolutely. You have to make sure the data controlling your processes is accurate and hasn't been tampered with. You think about a robotic arm on a production line.
Yeah.
The calibration has to be spot on. Any manipulation there could lead to damaged equipment, faulty products, even worker safety issues.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got confidentiality and integrity.
Right.
Now, what about availability? What does that look like in a factory?
Availability is all about preventing those disruptions and downtime. Oka-san points out that in FA, downtime means lost production,
Lost revenue.
lost revenue, and potentially even safety hazards.
So it's not just about convenience.
Yeah.
This is the core of your operation.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got the CIA triad and how it uniquely applies to FA. But how does the rest of the world view this? Oka-san mentioned something about global responses, right?
He did.
I'm curious to see how different regions are approaching this issue.
Right. He highlights three major developments.
Okay.
International standards, China's cybersecurity law, and Europe's Cyber Resilience Act. each one reflecting this growing awareness of cybersecurity's importance.
Okay, let's break those down one by one.
Fine.
Let's start with these international standards. What are we looking at here?
The big one is the IEC 62443 standard. It's a comprehensive framework for securing industrial automation and control systems. It's like a blueprint for building those secure FA systems, regardless of where you are in the world.
So it's like a common language for cybersecurity and FA.
Exactly.
Which makes a lot of sense, especially with global supply chains.
It does. And it's not just for engineers.
Oh.
It's designed for plant operators, system integrators, and device manufacturers. Everyone involved needs to be on the same page.
Okay, so it covers a lot of ground. What are the key aspects of this standard?
It looks at both organizational processes and then the security of the systems and components themselves.
Okay.
Organizational processes are about creating a secure culture within a company.
Okay.
Assessing risks, responding to incidents. The system component side, that focuses on the technical aspects.
Got it.
Strong passwords, firewalls, and encryption.
It's a two-pronged approach.
Yes.
You need the right technology, but then you also need the right mindset and procedures.
Exactly. And to ensure everyone's meeting these standards, there are certification levels.
Oh, yeah.
For organizations, it's about their overall cybersecurity posture.
Okay.
And for devices, it's about how well they resist cyber attacks.
So it's like a seal of approval, showing that a company or device is taking cybersecurity seriously.
Exactly.
Good to know. Now, what about these laws? Starting with China, what's going on there?
China's cybersecurity law has had a major impact on PLC manufacturers, especially big names like Siemens, Mitsubishi Electric, and Omron.
Okay.
The law requires security certifications for all PLCs sold in China, meaning manufacturers have to meet those specific standards or risk losing access to that massive market.
Wow, that's a bold move. What triggered this law? Was there like a specific incident?
It was actually a specific technical requirement. Any PLC with execution times faster than 0.08 milliseconds needs to be certified.
So essentially all modern PLCs,
Pretty much.
they're covered.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a strong statement from China. Even if it creates some hurdles for the manufacturer, it sounds like they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
Now, what about Europe? They're known for their strong data protection laws, with GDPR.
Right.
What's their approach to cybersecurity and FA?
Europe's Cyber Resilience Act, the CRA, is a game changer for all digital products, including those used in FA.
Wow. Okay.
Think smartphones to smart factories.
So it's like GDPR, but for cybersecurity,
Yeah, you could say that.
protecting systems instead of just personal data.
Right. One of the key requirements is reporting any critical vulnerability found in a product to the EU authorities within 24 hours.
24 hours, that's incredibly fast.
It is.
So that must put a lot of pressure on manufacturers to have those robust vulnerability detection and reporting systems in place.
Oh, it does. And it shows how seriously they're taking cybersecurity.
Yeah.
The CRA also introduces a risk-based classification system.
Okay.
Products used in critical infrastructure, like power plants, are going to face the strictest requirements.
So a smart thermostat won't be subject to the same level of scrutiny as a power plant control system.
Right, exactly. And for those high-risk products, third-party certifications similar to CE marking
I see.
might become mandatory. It's all about ensuring a high level of cybersecurity across the board.
Okay, so we've got this global push for better cybersecurity, but what does that mean for someone working in FA, on the ground level?
Right.
What are the practical steps they can take to make their systems more secure?
That's where Oka-san's presentation gets really valuable. He outlines 4 fundamental steps to enhance cybersecurity in FA.
Okay.
Using security-enabled devices, maintaining asset visibility, implementing network segmentation, and regularly backing up data.
Okay, I'm really interested in diving deeper into those steps and seeing how we can actually apply them.
Okay, let's do it.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely.
Let's unpack each of those steps in detail.
Welcome back to our deep dive into cybersecurity for FA engineers.
All right, so we've laid out the global landscape. We talked about those foundational principles. But now I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty. What are companies actually doing to tackle these cybersecurity challenges? Oka-san had some examples, right?
He did. He specifically highlighted some proactive steps being taken by leading PLC manufacturers,
Okay.
like Mitsubishi Electric and Omron.
Okay, so they're not just sitting back and waiting for something to happen.
Definitely not. They've both published their own FA system security guidelines and made them freely available online.
So they're sharing their knowledge with the wider FA community. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You don't see that kind of openness very often, especially when it comes to security.
True.
What made them decide to do that?
I think they recognize that cybersecurity isn't something you can tackle in isolation.
Oh,
You need everyone on board. These guidelines cover everything from the security features of their products
Yeah,
to
okay.
best practices for configuration and risk mitigation.
so it's like they're providing a free cybersecurity toolkit for anyone working with their PLCs.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome. What kind of topics are we talking about here?
They address a wide range of issues, everything from the basics of password management and user authentication to more complex areas like network security and vulnerability patching. It's a pretty comprehensive resource.
It sounds like they're really trying to empower those FA engineers with the knowledge and the tools they need to secure their systems,
Yeah,
regardless of their experience level.
exactly.
And these efforts really align perfectly with the IEC 62443 standard we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Mitsubishi Electric and Omron, they've both achieved certification,
Yeah, for their organizational processes.
which means they're not just talking the talk,
Exactly.
they're walking the walk.
They're putting it into practice.
It's one thing to say you're committed to cybersecurity.
Right.
It's another to actually get certified.
Right.
It shows a real commitment to best practices.
They've also been proactive in meeting the requirements of China's cybersecurity law. They've obtained certifications for almost all their PLC models sold there. They're clearly taking the global landscape seriously.
Yeah, it's great to see these companies taking the lead and setting a positive example for the rest of the industry. They're showing that cybersecurity is a priority, not just a checkbox on a compliance list.
Exactly. They're integrating it into their product development and business operations,
Yeah.
which is huge.
That's a huge step forward. Oka-san also mentioned something called OPC-UA.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not familiar with that.
It stands for Open Platform Communications Unified Architecture.
Okay.
It's basically a standard way for industrial devices and systems to communicate with each other.
So it's like a universal language for all those machines on the factory floor.
Yeah, you could say that.
Makes sense. You need everyone speaking the same language to work together efficiently.
Right.
But what does that have to do with cybersecurity?
Well, here's the cool part.
Okay.
Unlike some older protocols that were developed before security was a major concern, OPC-UA was designed with security in mind from the ground up.
Oh, that's good.
It's like building a house with a strong foundation.
Right, instead of trying to add it as an afterthought.
Exactly.
What are some of those security features built into OPC-UA?
It includes features like authentication, authorization, and encryption.
Okay, break those down for me.
Okay, so authentication is like showing your ID card to get access to a building.
Okay.
It verifies the identity of those devices trying to connect.
It's like a bouncer at the door of your network,
Yeah.
making sure only authorized devices get in.
Exactly. And then you have authorization, which is like having different levels of access within that building.
Yeah, okay.
Only certain devices are allowed to access specific data or control certain functions depending on their role.
So like having a key card that only opens certain doors.
Yeah, exactly. Some have master keys, some can only access certain areas.
That makes sense. And what about encryption?
Encryption is like putting your message in a secret code that only the intended recipient can decipher. Even if someone intercepts that message, they can't read it without the key to decode it.
So it's like sending a secret message in invisible ink that only the recipient can see with a special decoder.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
I like that. So these security features make OPC-UA much more secure than those older protocols that were often lacking in this department.
Definitely a major step forward for secure communication.
It sounds like a no-brainer for anyone designing new systems or upgrading existing ones. Is it widely used yet?
It's gaining momentum rapidly as more companies recognize the importance of cybersecurity.
Okay.
You're going to see it more and more in the coming years.
Okay, so we've got this global push for better cybersecurity with standards like IEC 62443, laws like China cybersecurity law, and Europe's CRA,
Yeah.
proactive steps from companies like Mitsubishi Electric and Omron, and then this secure communication protocol, OPC-UA.
Right.
It feels like a lot to take in,
It is.
but it's also encouraging to see all these efforts coming together.
It is encouraging. And it shows that the industry is taking this seriously and making progress.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that cybersecurity is an ongoing journey, not a destination.
That's a good point. You can't just implement these measures and then forget about it.
Right.
So what's the next step? Where do we go from here? How do we actually put all this knowledge into action?
That's a great question, and I think Oka-san has some valuable insights on that.
Okay.
He dives into some very concrete steps that you can take to enhance cybersecurity in your own environment.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually implement these security measures. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive. The global landscape, the unique challenges of OT security, and even some proactive steps that companies are taking.
Right.
But I'm ready to get down to, brass tacks.
Yeah.
What can we as FA engineers actually do to make our systems more secure?
That's where the rubber meets the road, right? And Oka-san, in his presentation, lays out these 4 fundamental steps that we can start implementing right away.
Remind me again what those are.
He talks about using security-enabled devices,
Right.
maintaining asset visibility,
Okay.
implementing network segmentation, and regularly backing up data.
Okay.
Each one plays a critical role in building that more secure FA environment.
Those are great starting points. Let's break them down one by one.
Okay.
First up, security-enabled devices. Sounds straightforward enough?
Yeah.
But what are some practical things we should look for when we're choosing new equipment?
When you're evaluating new devices, make sure security is a top priority, not just an afterthought.
Right.
Look for features like strong password protection,
Okay.
robust user authentication mechanisms, support for encryption protocols.
Yeah.
Don't settle for devices that treat security as a secondary feature.
So it's like baking security into the DNA of your systems, not just slapping on a Band-Aid after the fact.
Exactly. And don't forget about software updates.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Make sure your devices can be easily updated to patch vulnerabilities and address those emerging threats.
Makes sense. You wouldn't skip a maintenance check on a critical piece of equipment.
Right.
And software updates are just as important for keeping things running smoothly and securely.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the secure devices covered.
Right.
What about this asset visibility thing?
Asset visibility is all about knowing what you have
Go on.
and where it is.
Right.
Think about it. You can't protect what you don't even know exists.
Yeah, sure.
You need a detailed inventory of every device on your network, no mystery boxes lurking in the shadows.
So it's like taking inventory of your whole factory arsenal.
Exactly. No more mystery boxes.
What kind of information should we be tracking for each device?
You need to know the device type, the manufacturer, model number, serial number,
Okay.
its physical location, its network address, the software version it's running. It's like creating a detailed ID card
Okay.
for each device.
I like that analogy. Why is that so important? I mean, it sounds like a lot of work to keep track of all that information.
It is a lot of work, but it's crucial for a few reasons.
Okay.
First, it allows you to identify potential vulnerabilities and assess your risks.
Okay.
It helps you prioritize your security efforts, allocate resources where they're needed most.
Right.
Second, it really helps with incident response. If a security breach occurs,
Yeah.
you can quickly pinpoint those affected devices and take steps to contain the damage.
So it's not just about knowing what you have.
Right.
It's about understanding its potential weaknesses and how to protect it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to network segmentation. We touched on this earlier, but I'm still a little fuzzy on how it actually works in practice.
Okay, so think of it like creating different security zones
Okay.
in your factory,
Right.
each with its own level of access and control.
Right.
You might have a separate zone for your corporate network,
Got it.
your production line control systems,
Hmm.
and your building management systems. By limiting communication between these zones, you can prevent an attacker from easily moving across your network.
So it's like setting up checkpoints throughout the factory. Even if they get past one layer of security,
Yeah,
they can't easily access everything.
exactly. It's about containing the damage, preventing a small breach from turning into a catastrophe.
Okay, last but not least, we have data backups.
Yeah.
This one seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing there's more to it than just hitting save every now and then.
Data backups are your insurance policy
True.
against data loss or system failures, whether it's caused by a cyber attack, hardware malfunction, or even human error.
Right.
They allow you to restore your systems and data to a known good state,
Yeah.
minimize that downtime, get your operations back online quickly.
So it's like having a time machine for your factory data.
That's a great way to put it.
You can rewind to a point before the disaster struck.
You got it.
Okay. Make sure you have a robust backup strategy that includes both on-site and off-site backups. So you have multiple copies of your data in case one location is compromised.
Exactly. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
So those are the 4 fundamental steps: secure devices,
Yeah.
asset visibility, network segmentation, and data backups. What else can FA engineers do to kind of enhance cybersecurity?
Those are great foundational steps, but there's always more we can do.
Okay.
Implement strong password policies, Educate your employees about cybersecurity threats and best practices, establish those clear incident response procedures, and stay up to date on the latest vulnerabilities and attack techniques.
So it's about creating a culture of cybersecurity awareness,
Yes.
where everyone understands how important security is and their role in maintaining it.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity is not just the IT department's responsibility.
Right.
It's a shared responsibility that requires everyone's participation.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I've gained a much deeper understanding of the challenges and the opportunities we face in securing our FA environments. As we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Here's what I hope you'll take away from this. Cybersecurity is not just an IT issue.
Yeah.
It's a critical operational concern for everyone in FA.
Okay.
Understanding the unique challenges of OT security is essential for managing risk effectively.
Right.
And embracing a holistic approach that encompasses people, processes, and technology is the key to building a resilient cybersecurity posture.
Those are excellent points. And let's not forget Oka-san's closing message. In the DX era, let's stay safe.
Right. It's a call to action for all of us to be vigilant and proactive in protecting our systems and our data.
By staying informed, proactive, and collaborative, we can navigate this crazy digital age and ensure the safety and security of our critical infrastructure. Well said. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cybersecurity for FA engineers. We hope you found this exploration insightful and empowering.
We did too.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay secure.